Welcome to the 1204. Big up Miss Elite for this one. I made a video about black Americans who deny being African. Black Americans, they claim to be every and anything other than African. Miss Elite left a comment on one of my videos talking about black Americans who deny being African. And I do apologize in advance because I don't have another phone present with me to read from. So I can't read her comment word for word because I'm actually on the phone now. But what she basically said in that comment, I have heard so many times before by black Americans. So, according to Miss Elite, once upon a time, black Americans were trying to claim to be Africans, but Africans were telling them, we are not the same, you are not an African, and now black Americans are now not claiming to be African. My response to that is this, Miss Elite. It's 2024. And for the last, 5 years or so, or maybe even 10 years, we have seen people from a certain community claim to be something they are clearly not. Pardon me, I'm drinking some mango juice, Nigerian mango. So you have a bunch of people who were born male, born with male genitalia. And now these people, they are claiming to be a female. They want to be referred to as she, her. And if anybody refers to them as the genitalia, sorry, as the gender they were born, they will get very upset about that. In fact, did you know we live in a world right now? Well, I'm talking about, Western countries like the United Kingdom and the USA. Did you know it's actually illegal to refer to somebody who is genetically a male but identifies as a woman? If you refer to somebody like that as a male or man or boy, did you know that is called misgendering? Misgendering. And that is actually a crime. Now, guess what? Despite these people choosing to identify as something they are clearly not, despite the law being on these people's side, saying that they have the right to identify as that, and if you call them anything other than what they choose to, then you will be prosecuted for some type of hate crime. Despite all of that, biology does not lie. It does not lie. The genitalia does not lie. Common sense does not lie. We know what these people are. We know exactly who they are. So you could identify as whatever you want, but the common sense is common sense. And I find people who are clearly African, but deny being African. I find those people no different than these Transepticons. I honestly, believe that. Because I've seen listen, I'm not talking about, these half-caste Americans who look like Stacey Dash or Beyonce. Fuck them. I'm talking about some of these black Americans here looking like Bill Dukes. Talking about how they're not African and they look like Bill Dukes. Bill Dukes looks more African than Africans in Africa. So the point I'm trying to make to you, Miss Elite, is I don't actually know what you look like. For all I know, you might be some kind of half-breed, some kind of diluted Negro, like some of these Americans are. And by the way, there's one American guy, I'm surprised you have not made a video about him, but he's been going, but, he no longer makes videos, lambasting the red pill. His attention is now turned to Africans. Can't remember his name, but this guy's a half-caste. This guy's not even black. So I don't care about what these people are saying. If you're some half-caste, half-breed, don't want to hear it. But if you are black, then you are African. That's just how it is. So what you people are saying, if I'm being honest with you, Miss Ali, is irrelevant. Because just because some Africans said that you're not one of them, that you're not African, doesn't mean you're not actually African. It doesn't work like that. Because by that logic now, yeah, if I go and tell a Chinese man he's not Chinese, does that mean he's not Chinese? So if I go and tell a Chinese man he's not Chinese, and then one day he says, because you people said I'm not Chinese, therefore I'm not Chinese, that doesn't make any sense. Somebody can tell you you're not something, but if you are that thing, you are still that thing. Because if I went up to a Transepticon and I told a Transepticon, you're a woman. In fact, you're not a man. You're not a man. You're not going to accept that. You're going to say, look, 1204, you're clearly lying to this man because this is a bloke. Honestly, Miss Ellie, this African mango is so beautiful. This Nigerian mango. My mum came back from Nigeria not too long ago and she brought me some mango. And I've put it in a juicer. It's fucking brilliant. But you can choose to identify however you choose to identify. But genetics don't lie. If you have African genetics, you're African. It's as simple as that. And I find it weird and strange that the same black Americans who are crying out for reparations are claiming not to be African. So they say they want reparations because what happened to their ancestors. Okay, let's look at it. What did happen to your ancestors? Huh? They were rounded up, yeah? Hogtied, stuffed on a boat like sardines. One-way trip to the Americas. You do know those guys and women who were stuffed on that boat like sardines to the Americas to go and work for free. Do you know those people did not even speak a word of English? They spoke Wolof. They spoke Twi. They spoke Igbo. They spoke Yoruba. They spoke Hausa. They spoke Mandinka. Not Mandingos, by the way. Because Mandingo, that's what you Americans call it, and there's no such thing called Mandingo. It's called Mandinka. Just a little lesson for you Americans. So anyway, they spoke all those languages. Then they went to America, and then what happened was when the slave master, because it seems like a lot of you people don't know what happened. So let me tell you guys what happened. So then, when the white slave master, Mr. Jackson, with his whip, with his cracking whip, then he will be like, oh, do you know what? I want this big Negro hair to breed with that Negro female over there. And then they had a baby. Now that baby now was not born in Africa. So that baby then speaks English because that's all the baby was, being spoken. I'm sorry, that's all was spoken to the baby, English. And then eventually, that baby then grows up and then, has more children. And now you've got a bunch of Africans who can't speak any African language. Now, if you guys want reparations, I find it very strange that you want the reparations. So it's like you're acknowledging, what happened to African people who you guys accept as your ancestors, but then you guys claim to not be African, but yet you want the reparations. I don't give a damn how many people tells you are not African, but you clearly are African. Now, I don't know what you look like. You might be some, for what I know, you might be some half caste. And if that's the case, then I'm not interested in having this conversation with a bunch of diluted Negroes. I won't be doing that. But if you are black and you're African, and listen, you don't have to accept it. Listen, I'm not trying to tell you to accept it. Identify with whatever you want to identify as, but whether you like it or not, you people's black asses are only in that country because of the Africans that were hogtied and stuffed on a boat like sardines and taken to the Americas. Peace and love. I'm gonna get more of this mango juice.